Caroline, how would you characterise the attitude towards ChatGPT in boardrooms at the moment?
I think it's important to go back and understand what happened back end of 2022 when ChatGPT launched. And it was kind of unprecedented. We hadn't seen anything like it before. If you think that there was 1 million downloads of that app within 5 days, and previously take Instagram, 1 million took 2.5 months to get to. It was just rapid from the start, and it took everyone by surprise, even the tech giants. So it took the world by storm, and we kind of needed to catch up. So for the first time, the kind of technology that the general population had only seen in sci-fi movies was now in their fingertips. And so, there was this explosion. So 2023 then was probably characterized by, positive panic, if you like, and experimentation, because the boardroom in particular was just trying to catch up. I think the first 6 months of that year was about just letting it play out and seeing, is this just a craze? Is this the next fad? Is it all hype? And kind of sitting back and seeing whether there was anything in this AI thing. So a bit later in the year, then I think quite a lot of the leaders realized there was something in it, that they could really impact the outcomes of their business with it. And then you saw even more panic as they tried to demonstrate that they were doing something with it, experiment with it, and use AI in some kind of format within their business, but in a totally uncoordinated way. And don't forget that when ChatGPT launched at the end of 2022, it wasn't in leaders' budgets, in their plans, so they kind of had no runway to it. If you fast forward to this year, I think we're in a different place. Leaders have it in their plans, or at least in general, most leaders have thought about it. They've thought about the kind of investment that they made. So instead of lots of proof of concepts being demonstrated last year, I think we'll see a lot more being put into implementation, and we'll start seeing really the value and the outcome driven by AI. And I also think that we'll start to see some differentiators in the market. So where we saw AI typically being used for productivity and differentiation of products and services, I think we'll start to see some disruptors in the market now who take that just to a completely new level.
We talk about ChatGPT, generative AI, and AI almost interchangeably, all in the same sense now.
Yeah.
But obviously they're not the same thing. AI has existed for a very long time.
Correct, yeah.
Has the, for want of a better word, advent of generative AI pushed forward organisations thinking around AI more generally and pushing them into implementing technologies that had existed prior to 2022 but hadn't really been utilised?
Exactly that. So it has really just catapulted and accelerated generally organisations' use of technology that might not necessarily be AI. So what we've found is if we've worked with a company to understand where could they use artificial intelligence, because they'll come with that question, where could we use artificial intelligence as a use case to create major impact in our business? And we'll work through that question with them. And actually what we'll end up with is, yes, it is going to make an impact here, but actually you might only need machine learning, or you might only need to just implement cloud technology to get your data into the right kind of format so that you can actually run analytics and do something with it. So I think AI has been just a brilliant catalyst in making sure that technology is kind of front of mind and driving a lot of business kind of thoughts and outcomes about where they need to get to.
So how are organisations actually using AI, or how are they hoping to use AI if they're coming up to moving from proof of concepts to large-scale implementations?
So in the research that we did in 2023, it showed that 84% of organisations were using AI in some shape or form. And we're seeing majority of organisations doing and experimenting in using AI to drive productivity. So whether that's using it to make knowledge management quicker and easier, and ensuring that the people that were working there can do their jobs quicker and faster and be able to focus on more value-added tasks. And then we also saw quite an advent of using artificial intelligence in customer service to differentiate their products and services over competitors by using things like virtual assistants or chatbots in the sales and marketing space. So that's where I would say predominantly the focus has been. Majority of organizations are still at that POC stage, right? So we are really just coming to the cusp of really heightening that implementation and scaling of artificial intelligence. And that's where the difficulty comes, because that's where you hit barriers in terms of change management, insecurity, etc. So that's the tough bit, going on that scaling journey. What I would hope to see more of is more organizations using AI to completely disrupt industries and do things fundamentally different. I get excited about where it can take healthcare, right? So you can use it to diagnose people quicker. You can do it to use clinical trials so that they're much shorter, so that we're actually impacting the lives of day-to-day people out there. So that's where I would like to take that.
Certainly from conversations, anecdotally, with digital leaders, but also looking at some research, it would appear that life sciences, healthcare are areas where you are seeing kind of genuine progress being made with implementation. But I have heard C-suite leaders in technology say, don't actually think it'll change much actually in a lot of enterprise organizations. And I kind of feel it's maybe because organizations aren't really educating people about how to use the tools, and that perhaps there might be this sudden interest and then actually it fall away because people get on with day-to-day work, they get less interested, that moment passes and we don't take advantage of some of the tools?
I think it would be a real shame if you didn't harness the tools. And I think it comes back to the same reason why most technology transformations fail anyway. And that's through not taking people on a change management journey and expecting the tech to do the work. You can't do that anymore. You can't do that with this kind of technology. Artificial intelligence is really at the heart of human ingenuity and creativity. So if you're not putting a human in the center of developing and rolling that tech out, then it's just not going to land. Can you remember the days when you used to try and get on the internet and ask Jeeves something while your mum was using the phone in the other room? Yeah. I think traditional tech transformations and the way that we used to implement technology, the waterfall styles of doing things in a linear way, and even the agile way that we have been implementing technology to date, it's just not going to work for this style of technology. It's instantaneous and it's so human-centric. We need to be educating people how to harness that. We need to be making sure that the people in our organizations understand it, use it, and drive innovation through it. That will be the key in making sure that we can harness the value of that.
When potential customers walk through the door, we talk about productivity with regards to AI. What are their motivations behind seeking kind of successful implementation of AI? Is it monetary? Is it with the human, the staff member in mind? Is it productivity? Is it operational efficiency? Where are they coming from?
It really depends on what part of the business is asking the question. And I think all of those are covered in some of the client questions that we've been asked. We do get a lot around the productivity side of things. That is where the focus has been in to date, because that's the easiest problem to solve. But we've seen a whole range of business outcomes needing to be achieved. It's about whether you're trying to increase your growth or your penetration in a particular market, if you're trying to get into a new customer segment, if you're trying to create a new brand. There are so many multiple ways in which AI can be used. We've been seeing kind of all across the board. But the point is, I think what we haven't seen is too many organisations today coming with us with a coherent ask in terms of how AI can help. So what we've had to date is lots of different departments from an organisation understanding how an AI use case can help their particular business objectives. Not much have we seen kind of at a board level or a united organisational level, them coming to understand how we can fulfil business objectives at that level. And that's where you need to see it, kind of at that strategic leadership level. They need to be the ones to be deciding, okay, how are we going to use artificial intelligence to drive value? Because if it's just here in an HR department, or it's just here in kind of a customer facing department, it's not going to work unless you have kind of a cohesive strategy behind it.
Why do you think a coherent ask with regards to the aims of AI from an organisational standpoint, why do you think that coherent ask is missing at the moment?
Because of the pace in which it happened. Because it's in the hands of everybody. So if I am working for a company and I see that there is an AI tool that can help me do my job better, I'm going to use it. If I am a leader of a particular business unit or a department and I can see that AI is going to help me do things better and faster, I'm going to do it. So I've been able to do it because it's been there for me to be able to use it. I haven't needed to go and perhaps ask for particular investment or ask for a program to make sure it happens, because it's at my fingertips for the first time. So I think that is why we have seen so many kind of proof of concepts and so many AI use cases being played out at a much lower level down the organisation and in different parts of the organisation than we have done before.
Slalom talk about bring your own AI. Do you mind explaining what that concept is?
It means that organisations are experimenting and using AI in a completely uncoordinated way. So it could be individuals within an organisation are taking advantage of AI applications to better do their jobs, to be able to do their jobs quicker or faster by enhancing document writing, by image generation through AI. Or it could be departments or business units in a particular organisation that have harnessed a use case and are using AI to drive some kind of value, but it might not be in deference to a particular business objective at a strategic level. So what you get then is an uncoordinated approach to AI where there might be a duplication of effort. There might be the wrong investments happening throughout the organisation because a vision or an AI policy hasn't been set at the strategic level, and maybe some of the AI that is being played with is not feeding into an overall business objective.
Is a lack of policy regarding AI within organisations reflective of a lack of understanding in the boardroom about the capabilities of AI?
I think it possibly has something to do with that. I think a lot of organisations fell on the back foot when AI burst onto the scene. Now we're seeing much more policy around AI being integrated into a business, but it tends to be incorporated into existing policies that they have. So they're enhancing, their data security with an AI part of the policy. There may be suggesting which tools to be used within their organisation. So we are starting to see boards and organisations put AI policy in place. I think it's a bit of a fine line that they have to walk though, because yes, we need AI policy. We need to make sure that we have that structure so that the whole organisation is pulling in the same direction to fundamentally make sure they're making an impact on their business through AI. However, it worries me when organisations try to ban the use of AI or prohibit it in some way, because to me, that's really stymieing innovation. It's holding their organisation back. And yes, I know every organisation is different and some may be under other scrutinies than the rest. But in general, if you're trying to ban the use of a technology that can fundamentally make an impact, then you risk that loss of innovation, and you also risk demotivating and not empowering your talent.
According to Nash Squared's research, just 2 in 10 organisations have an AI policy. Do you think that lack of policy could lead to stagnation around innovation, and perhaps what might it mean for talent?
Our research that we did supports that as well, actually. I would say that an AI policy is absolutely needed to form the right structure, and so that the organisation is investing across the board in the right things to achieve its business objectives. So you don't get that pockets of innovation not pulling in the right direction. So I would say that AI policy is needed for that structure. I don't think a lack of it is stagnating the organisation. I think what that achieves is it just slows down the innovation. So a lack of policy means that you're just slowing down being able to achieve your objectives, because there's too many people doing things that are not in service to an overall strategy. In terms of the talent question, I do worry that if we don't allow an organisation to innovate and we put too much of a policy in place, then it will disempower the talent that we have. And what is talent? Talent is your people that are driven, they're motivated, they want to do better, they want to be better. And if you've got a technology that enables them to do that, they're of course going to want to try and use it to enhance their jobs. So they might be doing, enhanced image creation. They might process documents quicker by doing and using AI. You don't want to stop them from doing that. If you think about what talent is, it's the people who are driven, enthusiastic, and motivated within your organisation that want to do better and be better. So you want to be able for them to have a technology that enables them to do that, so they can process documents quicker and focus on value-added tasks instead of maybe the mundane ones. And you're enhancing them on a day-to-day basis. And actually, you're putting them at a complete advantage in the workplace. And you're giving them the skills that they need for the future. And you're going to want to be able to do that. I think of a stat that I heard that was probably 2019 now, so way before this explosion of Gen AI into our world. And it said that by 2030, 85% of the jobs, don't exist. So they're jobs that we don't even know about. And if you think about that, that's probably true. If you think about not that long ago, we never heard of AI engineers, data scientists, UX, UI, developers and designers, or even, not even in the technology sphere of social impact or community leaders. So, the world is evolving, and AI is only going to make that happen at a quicker speed, where you have a new evolution of jobs. You want your people within your organizations to have the skills to be able to do that, because without that, you're not just lacking innovation within your business, you're stopping the wider context and business arena from progressing within society.
Given the pace of change, and given that by 2030 there might be numerous jobs that are very difficult to describe in today's terms that exist, surely if you are a technologist working for a company that doesn't have an AI policy, doesn't understand AI, puts you at a severe disadvantage in terms of career prospects.
It does. I think we also have to remember it's not just about technology. So the types of technology and the way in which we develop and train that technology will probably change at such a rate that, yes, technical skills are super important. However, we can't forget the other skills that are going to be equally important to make sure that we can, as an organisation, but also as a society, harness the value of AI and make an impact through AI. And they are things like being empathetic, communication skills, reasoning, being able to combine all of that skill set with the technology, that's the important thing. So back to the question in terms of is the technology putting their workers at a disadvantage? Yes, they probably are, but it's probably a much more multifaceted question that they need to be equipping their organisation with not just the technology skills and facilitating their learning of AI, but it's also equipping with the softer skills that are going to be absolutely critical in making sure that we can advance with this.
Policymakers have got a lot to consider, that much is clear. It's a very complex issue. But with regards to regulation, where do you think the responsibility should lie for getting this right, for making sure that we have policy that is fit for the tools that we're developing?
As government in combination with the AI organisations, in the UK, the approach has been to pro-innovation, right? To lead with a framework rather than legislation. And it's through regulating, through our existing regulators, FCA and Ofcom. So rather than creating a new regulator and having to upskill and understand what that might look like, it's putting guidance at the hands of how to deal with AI in the existing regulators. And I think probably that is a sensible way to go about it. However, what the government is going to have to understand is how they coordinate those regulators, how they drive consistency and making sure that each of those really understand what we mean by AI and how they're going to provide the frameworks around that within that particular area and within that particular industry. So we need to have a central function to be able to coordinate that, which I believe the government is intending to do. So I do think that is the right approach. Where it becomes difficult is that's not the same approach worldwide. So the EU has a different approach where they lead with legislation, and that might have an impact on their innovation, but it is a different approach. So then when you're trying to solve the problem at a worldwide scale with nations doing it in a slightly different way, even though they're trying to get to the same outcome, then it becomes pretty difficult. But in answer to the original question, governments, I think, need to collaborate with AI companies to make sure the regulations that they put in place are right.
Slalom are a US headquartered organisation. The UK last year politically tried to bring together various different political actors. Where do you think we should lean in terms of, you talked about UK regulation, where do you think we should lean in terms of taking aspects of various different regulation? Is there stuff that you see in the States or in Europe or even in the Far East that you think that could work?
I think honestly we're at such a time in infancy in seeing how this is going to play out. I think we just need to let it play out a little bit and adjust accordingly. I think with anything AI, in the AI world, it's going to be test and learn and experimentation, because we don't know fully what all the implications are. We don't really know how this is going to progress and continue to grow and develop. So I don't think we really understand what the implications of some of the regulation that we're putting in place or lack of it is going to lead to. So we just need to be cognizant of that and be agile enough to be able to test and flex and learn. And I think that's the key, less so in understanding whether we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, but really putting ourselves in a position that we're able to change direction as and when we can. So the frameworks that the UK government are putting in place at the moment will probably be the precursor to any legislation that comes. So I think that's the right thing, but the agility in which we're able to flex will be the key point.
We talked about some examples of AI. Digital humans are an example of AI. How do you think trust plays a part in how digital humans are perhaps perceived by organisations, their staff, the public?
I think we're really at the beginning of the digital human journey, and time will tell. But I'm in two minds, because logically, the logical side of my brain, the black and white side of my brain, says that we absolutely can put trust in digital humans, and the response of humans to digital humans will be to trust them. Because if we look at the trust equation, and reliability plus credibility plus intimacy with a lack of self-orientation equals trust. And if you look at that on a very black and white level, then a digital human is trustworthy, because are they reliable? Yes. They have a huge amount of data that they can garner a lot of the answers from, and it's black and white. Are they credible? Yes, because they can't lie to you, because they don't have that kind of emotion, and they're less likely to overcommit on things. Intimacy, well, you have an element of that. There are ways in which you can create intimacy through a digital human, and self-orientation, they don't have the ability to be self-orientated, because they're purely database. So that side of my brain says, yes, absolutely, digital humans will garner a trust with humans in their interaction. However, there's another part of my brain that is possibly the less logical one, that it's a fine line and trust. And we actually enjoy that there's a separation between the digital human and the human, and that we can kind of deal with. But the moment that they emulate humanity too much is when you cross over that trust line and you start to lose it. And I'll give you an example. A digital human still looks digitally computed, right? That doesn't need to be the case. We could get a deep fake and you could have a digital human that absolutely looked human, and we don't do that. And why don't we do that? Because it would make us super uncomfortable and lose all kind of trust if we were to make a digital human look exactly like a human. So I'm not sure I've answered your question, because I haven't quite decided in my own mind. I do think digital humans are a really good idea. I think they will be game-changing in the customer service industry, but I think we need to understand which are the best use cases and which are the best circumstances in which we harness that.
Do you trust, as a technology leader, that organizations building AI tools, such as those we might find powering a digital human, that they're building those responsibly?
I'd like to trust that, but again, everyone's human, and everyone is open to bias, and every individual is powered and driven by different things. So it's naive to trust fully. What I trust is that organizations will start to put in the right kind of security measures in place and do more to make sure that we are addressing the likes of bias in AI.
Cool. Thank you.